They thought weakness could finish you. They thought a whisper in the dark, a fragile hand, or a trembling smile would be enough to snap your spine. They sent the soft, the uncertain, the ones who bend under pressure, believing that you'd bend with them. But they never understood what you're made of, because weakness doesn't break will. It never has, and it never will. They tried to bury you under shadows of doubt. They thought fragile voices could drown out the thunder inside you. But when the dust cleared, when every shallow attempt scattered like ash, there you stood, untouched, unbroken, smiling in the fire they swore would consume you. Here's the truth. They didn't send warriors. They didn't send giants. They sent the weak, and nothing cuts deeper than the will that refuses to fall. They thought they were clever. They thought breaking you didn't require strength. It only required persistence. So they sent whispers instead of war cries, shadows instead of soldiers. They believed small cracks would spread faster than heavy blows. But here's the mistake they'll never admit. Fragile schemes don't destroy a soul that's already survived fire. Weak hands can't shatter a spirit that's carved from stone. Every trick they used, every rumor, every betrayal, every half-hearted strike only revealed their fear. They didn't send their strongest because they couldn't. They sent pawns, hoping pawns would be enough. They sent the timid, the desperate, the cowards, dressed in borrowed courage. And with each attempt, they thought they were moving closer to your fall. But all they did was expose themselves. They thought they were playing a game of strategy, but they forgot pieces can't checkmate a storm. Steel bends, blades dull. Even the sharpest sword loses its edge after enough strikes. But your will cuts deeper than any blade, sharper than any weapon they could ever wield against you. They came at you with noise, shouts, lies, hollow threats, thinking volume equals power. But the quiet inside you, the silence that holds its ground, was louder than all their chaos combined. The weak swing wildly, desperate to land a blow. You stand calm, patient, unshaken, knowing their frenzy can't touch you. Your scars, they thought those were proof of damage, but scars are not cracks. Scars are armor. Every mark on your body, every wound you've endured has been sealed into steel. What they saw as weakness was your proof of survival. They thought strength was a blade in the hand. They never realized true strength is a will in the heart, a weapon no one can steal, no one can dull, and no one can break. And when they faced that truth, when they saw you weren't fighting with fists or swords, but with an unyielding spirit, they understood too late. They had brought pebbles to a war of mountains. Pain was never your prison. It was your forge. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every loss they threw your way wasn't a chain, it was fire. And instead of burning you down, it melted you into something unrecognizable, something stronger than they ever expected. They sent weakness, hoping you would collapse under the weight of pity, regret, or despair. They thought if they scraped at you long enough, the cracks would widen and you'd shatter. But every blow they delivered only hardened you. Every attempt to wound you only sharpened your edge. You didn't just endure those moments, you transformed them. Sleepless nights became steel, silent tears became fuel. Every "you can't" became a voice inside that roared, "Watch me." They wanted your suffering to shrink you, but it expanded you. They wanted your scars to shame you, but you turned them into a language of resilience. They wanted the weight of pain to bury you. Instead, you used it as a foundation to rise. Because here's what they never understood. Pain doesn't weaken the relentless. It feeds them. And with every ounce of hurt they sent your way, they were unknowingly building the weapon that would undo them, your unbreakable will. They thought they were sending hunters. They thought you would be prey, easy to corner, easy to silence. But what they found was not weakness. It was reckoning. When the weak stood before you, expecting fear, they saw something else entirely. They saw eyes that didn't flinch, a spirit that didn't bow. They expected trembling hands. Instead, they found unshakable resolve. They thought they'd cornered prey, but what stared back at them was a force too raw, too untamed, too relentless to ever be caged. Every one of them left with the same realization carved into their bones. You cannot be broken. They came with fragile courage and left carrying fear. They thought their whispers could drown you, but your silence was heavier than their screams. They thought their schemes would bind you, but every chain they wrapped around you only snapped in your grasp. They wanted to deliver your ending, but instead they became proof of your beginning. They wanted to write your fall, but all they managed to do was witness your rise. Because you aren't just someone who survives. You are the reckoning they never saw coming. They never feared swords. They never feared knives. What they've always feared is the unpredictable, the kind of force that can't be measured, charted, or controlled, and that's what you are. You are chaos. You are fire. You are the storm. Chaos isn't weakness, it's freedom. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for orders. It strikes where it chooses and rewrites the rules as it goes. That's why they can't hold you, can't box you in, can't silence you. You don't just break the pattern, you erase it. Fire doesn't apologize for burning. It consumes, it transforms, it clears the old so the new can rise. They wanted you to suffocate in the ashes, but instead you became the wildfire that devours everything built against you. And the storm? The storm doesn't knock politely. It doesn't ask if its presence is welcome. It arrives with fury, with thunder, with inevitability. That's you, inevitable. They can run, they can hide, they can whisper in their corners, but when the storm comes, nothing stands. That's why their weak attempts never mattered. That's why their plans collapse the moment they face you, because you don't play by their rules. You rewrite them. You don't fight their war. You become the war. They thought they were tearing you apart. They thought every dagger thrown, every betrayal whispered, every obstacle placed in your path was chipping away at who you are. But they never realized every strike was shaping you. The cracks they tried to carve into your spirit became the lines of a stronger design. The falls they engineered became the ground you used to rise higher. What they called losses, you turned into lessons. What they meant for your destruction, you forged into your evolution. Every scar became a story. Every wound became a weapon. Every setback became a stepping stone. They wanted those scars to define you as broken, but instead, they defined you as unshakable. And that is the truth that terrifies them most. Because their attacks didn't weaken you, they built you. Their shadows didn't bury you. They made your light undeniable. Their schemes didn't silence you. They gave your voice thunder. They thought they were breaking you, but all they were doing was building the version of you they could never defeat. The version forged in fire, hardened in chaos, and sharpened by will. That's the transformation. That's the part they'll never understand. Every move they made to destroy you only made you unstoppable. You don't rise because they allow it. You don't rise because circumstances are kind. You rise because it's in your nature. Every scar on your body, every trial you've endured is proof that the ground they tried to keep you on could never hold you. They wanted you crawling, but you kept walking. They wanted you walking, but you started running. And when they thought you'd reached your limit, you took flight. The rise isn't about survival anymore. It's not about just standing tall after the storm. It's about becoming the storm itself. It's about showing them that no matter how many times they tried to write your ending, you've always been the one holding the pen. You rise because the fire inside you refuses to die. You rise because defeat has never been strong enough to chain you. You rise because the world tried to bury you in shadows, and you decided to shine so brightly that even the dark had to step aside. Let them call it defiance. Let them call it arrogance. It doesn't matter what name they give it, because the truth is simple. You are rising, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Every time you rise, you remind them of the one thing they fear most, that their power over you never existed. Let them keep sending their weak. Let them keep plotting, whispering, scheming in the dark. None of it matters, because you are the blade they'll never dull, the spirit they'll never cage, the fire they'll never put out. They thought breaking you was possible. They thought time, doubt, or fragile hands could wear you down. But you've already proven them wrong. Every scar, every rise, every unshaken step forward is proof that their attempts only fuel you. You don't beg, you don't bow, you don't break. When they look into your eyes now, they don't see a victim. They don't see someone cornered. They see the one thing they were never prepared for: defiance that does not bend, power that does not crumble, and that cuts deeper than any blade. That's why they fear you. Not because you're ruthless, not because you're unpredictable, but because you've become undeniable. And no matter how many times they try, no matter how many fragile hands they send to break you, the truth remains the same. You cannot be broken. So smile, not because the war is over, but because you've already won every battle they thought could destroy you. Smile like the world never understood your strength. Smile like the fire they tried to bury you in has become the light you now carry. Let them wonder how you're still standing. Let them whisper. Let them fear. Let them break themselves trying trying to break you, because the truth is carved into every scar, echoed in every step you take. They never had power over you. You are the storm they can't outrun. You are the fire they can't extinguish. You are the will that cuts deeper than any blade. And in the end, while they scramble in shadows, you'll be standing in the open, unbroken, undefeated, and smiling at the wreckage of every plan that failed to stop you.